You think you are your thoughts, but have you ever stopped and watched them? That voice in your head, the one narrating everything, judging everything, reacting to everything. Oh, it isn't you. It's the ego. And you are not the ego. You're what's watching it. Carl Jung said, the ego is only a small part of the self, but most people live as if it's everything. Your name, your job, your story, your trauma, your identity. All these are just the surface. You think, I am anxious. I am not good enough. I need to prove myself. But who is the I that's watching that thought happen? That's the real you, the one who sees, the one who knows, the one who's always been there, before the pain, before the roles, before the masks, the observer, the silent witness behind your mind. But here's the trick. The ego doesn't want you to know that, because the ego survives by identification. If you believe you are your thoughts, then every fear feels like truth. Every judgment feels like fact. Every story feels permanent. The ego whispers, you are this emotion, you are this failure, you are this past. And you believe it, because you forgot that you can watch it all without being it. So let's break it. Let's unmask the ego, not to destroy it, not to judge it, but to see it, to notice how it builds a cage out of stories, how it creates separation, how it needs to be right, how it fears silence, how it craves control. Why? Because if the ego is silent long enough, you might hear something deeper. And the ego is terrified of that. You've been trained to live in the surface layer, perform, achieve, prove, please, control. But underneath that, there's something watching. It doesn't perform. It simply is. It's not afraid of being wrong. It doesn't need a label. It doesn't need to win. It knows. This is what Jung pointed to with the self, not the ego self, but the totality of who you are, the conscious and the unconscious, the visible and the hidden, the personality and the soul behind it. And this deeper self isn't found in doing, it's remembered in being. But the transition isn't easy, because letting go of the ego feels like death. And in a way, it is. It's the death of who you thought you had to be, the identity you crafted to survive, the mask you wore to be loved. And the moment you say, I am not this thought, I am not this fear, I am not this story, the ego panics. Because if you're not all those things, then who are you? That's the question, not to answer, but to live. Because the answer isn't a sentence, it's a silence, a space, a stillness that can only be felt when the noise of ego subsides. That's not emptiness, that's freedom. Here's the paradox. The ego doesn't want to be seen, but the moment you see it, it loses power. That's the beginning of awakening. Not fireworks, not visions, but the simple act of watching. Watching a thought rise and not grabbing onto it. Watching anger appear and not becoming it. Watching fear pass through and realizing it's not you. You start to notice the patterns, how the ego tells the same story over and over again. I'm not enough. They don't respect me. If I'm not achieving, I'm failing. But now you're not inside the story, you're watching it. And that changes everything. At first it's uncomfortable because silence feels foreign. Stillness feels like death. You sit alone and the ego screams, why are you wasting time? You need to be doing something. This is pointless. You should be better by now. But what if you didn't believe it? What if you could sit and listen and let it pass, like a storm? Because it will pass. Thoughts rise and fall, emotions come and go, but you remain. That's the self, not the part of you that changes, but the part that watches change. Not the one who reacts, but the one who witnesses reaction. Not the one who wants control, but the one who is free without it. Carl Jung knew this. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. But to become who you truly are, you must first see who you're not. You're not your pain. You're not your achievements. You're not your image. You're not your ego. All of these are experiences, but not the experiencer. So how do you find the observer? You don't. You notice it. It's there when you pause between breaths, when you watch a sunset and feel still, when you hear your thoughts and don't follow them, when you sit in silence and realize you are aware of being aware. That's not an idea, that's presence. It can't be described, only lived. And once you taste it, even for a moment, you'll never be the same. Because now you know, the ego isn't the enemy, it's just a part, a tool, a temporary interface. But you are the whole, the space, the stillness, the awareness, the self. Awakening is not the end. It's the beginning of a very different life. Once you realize you're not the ego, a strange silence settles in, peaceful, but also disorienting. You look around and wonder, then who am I? How do I live now? The world still spins, bills still exist, people still expect you to play your role. But something inside has shifted. You're no longer inside the performance, you're watching it. You're not trying to win the game, you're questioning why you were playing at all. And here's the trap. The ego doesn't die. It adapts. It says, okay, let's make spiritual the new identity. It wants to be the awakened one, the wise one, the one who's above it all. But that's just another mask, another illusion, because the ego would rather become a new persona than be truly silent. So the work continues. Now the practice is humility, not needing to be right, not needing to be seen, not needing to be special. You learn to rest in being, not proving, not performing, just being. You stop chasing validation, you stop defending your story, you stop arguing with life, you start listening, observing, trusting. You realize there's no one to become, just someone to remember, and that someone has always been here, behind the thoughts, beneath the fears, under all the masks. It's not that you become the self, you've always been the self, you just forgot. Carl Jung wrote, "Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes." You've looked inside, you've seen the illusion. Now you walk with eyes open, and no one can take that from you, not even your own mind. So live your life, play your roles, love, laugh, work, grow. But do it as the witness, do it from awareness, do it from truth, because now you remember who you are, and you'll never fall asleep in the same way again.